Maybe big data has gotten too big. Whether you're a B2B marketer or a consumer brand, your data needs to be viable, relevant, and accessible so that Stirista can help you retain customers, acquire customers, and make it personal.
Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Probably one of the most entertaining marketing podcasts you're going to put in your ear. I'm Kevin, the producer here at Stirista. The goal of the podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way.
In this week's episode, Shay Howe, Chief Marketing Officer at ActiveCampaign, joins Vincent to discuss ActiveCampaign's marketing strategies as part of the ever-changing nature of the industry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am your host, Vincent Pietrafesa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. It is great to be coming at you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Also, we just celebrated Ad Week here in New York City the last couple weeks, and it was great. Thank you for all those people who listened to the podcast and told me about it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And it's been great. Shout out to Aaron Johnston, a real big fan of the program, who says he listens to every episode. So we're showing you some love, Aaron. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We do appreciate it. Thank you for coming up to us and saying that. I am riding solo today, ladies and gentlemen. My co-host, our CEO, is busy in planning meetings, just ensuring that Stirista is well into the future and doing great things as we have been. So let's talk about Stirista just for a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. We're just going to talk about it for a few seconds. We are a marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, our own business-to-consumer data, and we help companies utilize that data to help get new customers through our own email sending platform, our own DSP. We do display, connected TV. Email me at vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email address. Boy, do you use it. You sure do. Also, some cool upcoming dates to keep an eye on, ladies and gentlemen. December 8th is Stirista's annual summit, virtual. We have amazing guests. We bring back some podcast guests. We have people, we've had former NBA stars, WWE stars, and we just, talk for a few hours. We have comedians who come on and just entertain. So that's going on December 8th. December 18th, the Marketing Club of New York. Speaking of comedy and cocktails, right? Live in New York City, hosted by yours truly, who, yes, as many of you know, I'm a stand-up comedian myself. I moonlight as a comedian at night, Vincent James. And speaking of that, December 15th and 16th, a lot of people from the Westchester County, New York, and the New York City area come out and see me. I will be headlining the Yonkers Comedy Club. A lot of my clients, a lot of my friends in that area have come out. So keep that up, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. I also appreciate our guests. We got a great guest today. This is a company I've wanted to talk to for a long time. I really do mean that. And I'm glad that we were able to match up. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the Chief Marketing Officer of ActiveCampaign, Shay Howe. What's going on, Shay?
Vincent, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. I love, we were already talking, we're similar industry, of course, because we talk marketing, but not every guest is in a similar industry. So I love that about you. I love you're a big sports fan. You're sharing in the misery of my New York Giants. You're a Chicago Bears fan. So not a great year for us. Hopefully when this episode comes out in a couple of weeks, we're doing a little better, but a nice little surprise by this new quarterback you guys have.
He came out of nowhere, but he's got a bit of a Cinderella story. So I'm here for it. We'll see how it goes. I grew up in Ohio too. So I was a Justin Fields fan and still am. So I'm hoping for the best there too. I think there's still promise there, but Tyson's doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I do think, a lot of people are down on Justin Fields, and I'm like, no, this kid is good. Get him into the right system. Maybe a coaching change. Let's see. Who knows? But I don't know if the answer is if they happen to have some of those top picks if it's just a knee-jerk reaction. But we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the year plays out for the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants, who we're recording this episode right after a nice little win that they just had over the Washington Commanders. Serge, if you're listening, you still owe me, buddy. Serge from LG. So anyway, Shay, it's great to talk to you again. I love how, mutual people put us together. This is great. This is, I love how that happens. It doesn't happen often that way, but I wanted to talk to ActiveCampaign for a long time. Tell us about ActiveCampaign and then your role within the organization.
Yeah, happy to. So ActiveCampaign is the most positively reviewed marketing automation platform in the world, serving customers in over 170 countries. To distill that down a little bit, we help small teams power big businesses with the must-have platform for intelligent marketing automation. And I can go into the weeds and unpack all what that means. But I think the heart and center of what we'll share there is ActiveCampaign's in marketing automation platform. And in my role, I oversee all things marketing as the chief marketing officer, as well as partnerships, corp dev, and a few other kind of ancillary groups.
And, I've always been familiar with ActiveCampaign. That's why I wanted to talk to you. A lot of the customers that we talk to here, because, Stirista's customer acquisition, ActiveCampaign, marketing automation, retention, getting those leads right to, top of the funnel to move along the funnel. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of times people will think of ActiveCampaign, they think email marketing, right? And that not wrong in the sense that we definitely do email marketing, but for us, it's the automation is the heart and center of the business, and email is a key or core channel of that. And even to what you're saying, there is it's not even just top of funnel, right? It is somewhere from someone has known about you, they have awareness, but how do you build them into a lead, a customer, and then along that entire customer journey, like follow the life cycle of that customer and using automation across that entire sequence.
Yeah, no, I love it. Again, like I said, I've been, very familiar with the company. So I'm glad you're here. A question we ask everyone, Shay, is that how'd you get started in marketing to begin with?
Yeah, I probably have a different path into marketing than most. Maybe I'm biased because it's my story and I think I'm just unique. But
I'll tell you, you tell me the story and I'll tell you if it's unique to the podcast.
Keep me honest. My origins, my roots are actually in design. And design in a sense of how do we use design to solve a problem? I want it to look good. I want it to be creative, but I sincerely and wholeheartedly, first and foremost, want it to solve a problem. So that's what I went to school for. I studied design and spent the first few years outside of college as a designer in a few different marketing agencies, and then found my way into basically SaaS, so B2B SaaS. And in those kind of early stages of a company, moving into those hyper growth phases, you do everything. So I was a designer, but went deeper in engineering in the sense of him designing these things, but are they actually easy to build? Am I controlling scope right? Like, is this technically actually possible? Through that, build a few things and realized, that this probably wasn't what the customer actually wanted. So I went deeper into product management and into that side of the business to say, hey, let's make sure that what we're building is actually viable and that there's need for it. And that then led me deeper into marketing in the sense of, you can also build demand. You can create interest and intrigue in different ways too. So been in the hypergrowth B2B SaaS space where you wear many different hats, but it's been design, engineering to product to marketing, ops, and kind of honestly anything and everything in between. But I think I kind of stepped backwards into marketing through that, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. So a lot of people have been similar where they step back into marketing, but not the design. So you're right. There's a lot of uniqueness there, Jay. So the design piece where you're, working with creative, you're doing that. And then all of a sudden you're into engineering and you're into product management. No, that is definitely unique. But how has that all helped you feel in marketing, especially at ActiveCampaign?
Yeah, well, ActiveCampaign's a unique one too, in that we've been more product-led in that product-led growth scenario, even before product-led was kind of the trend of the moment, if you will. And, I think if you follow my path from design and engineering, I'm scratching that left and right brain itches, right? Where I got the analytical or methodical on one side, and you have the creative or artistic brain on the other. And for me, like in marketing, that rings so true, right? Where you have to be creative and find ways to stand out, but you shouldn't shy away from the data and the performance end of it and digging deeper into, where certain aspects of demand gen versus brand also sit. So that design skill set of understanding your customer, thinking strategically about how you're going to solve that problem. I'll say data influenced in how you actually make some decisions. And then at the end of the day too, design is also some method of communication, right? It's a way to collaborate, work together. And I think that's been largely transferable from anything I've done. Marketing be a key piece of that.
It's interesting that you mentioned design. I was, again, at Adweek, people were talking and they were like, remember 30 years ago that there was like the big pitch and you had one shot at the design, or you had one shot at like, this campaign, this commercial, this all better be great. And now someone could like easily pivot so easily. You could switch out creative, you could switch out design so fast. It's like, what are your thoughts on that? It's just something that came up at Adweek that I was thinking of.
We intentionally do that. So we'll test messaging and positioning, right? So it's, hey, we're going to go run a campaign into this very specific vertical. And here's why we believe ActiveCampaign to be unique or specialized for that vertical. But we don't know what message is going to resonate. We don't know if it's going to be about price or a specific use case, or maybe it's a key integration. So it's, all right, let's spin up all of those and let's run ads against them. Let's have landing pages that support different ones and see which ones get the best engagement rates, be it click-through or conversions. Like, we test all of that, honestly. If I had one shot to do this, the pressure of that would be, be daunting, honestly. Yeah, so we're always playing around.
I love it. Yeah, there's enough pressure in marketing to begin with, right? So it's having to do that. I just found that interesting. I was like, you're so right. Whereas like, you had that one commercial, one shot 30 years ago, it had to be right, goes into the print. And I'm like, it's way different now. But Shay, you said something about your time at SaaS companies and even some, maybe startups in some sense where you had to wear a lot of hats, right? I find myself even doing that at times here, but is that the case at ActiveCampaign, or are you able to just really focus on the marketing aspect?
Ooh, yes, wearing many hats. But getting, I'd say, more specialized over time. So at ActiveCampaign, I've led design, be it product and brand design. I led engineering for a moment. I've led all of marketing, still lead all of marketing. Build out what we call our platform strategy team, which does all of our partnership management, all of our DevRel functions, build out some corp dev functions, and have led a number of different acquisitions. One of those acquisitions was last year of a company called Postmark. And then for what would be the first year and a half or 18 months of that company at ActiveCampaign, kind of served as the GM to kind of get them embedded and led into the org well. So I've led different functions over there. So today it's marketing, but marketing does include the platform strategy team, so our partnership management team, corp dev, that includes referral partners, a few things like that. And then, as is always the case, I think in hypergrowth organizations, you're going to moonlight in certain areas, right? Where, hey, a strategic project comes up and I might pick that up and run with that alongside marketing, et cetera. So marketing is definitely the heart and kind of focus of what I'm doing. But not uncommon for a project here or there to pick up.
So I'm always curious when a company offers marketing solutions per se, and you're the CMO, is part of your job, Shay, to market ActiveCampaign to ideal customers, but are you getting into the nitty gritty with some of your customer strategies, kind of helping them out? Because that's ultimately what the platform is doing. Just curious about that.
But if I'm doing my job well, it's both, right? Like our marketing is essentially marketing for our customers in so many different ways. And that can happen in a couple of different scenarios. One is, hey, what we're marketing it's aspirational. It has influence into our customers. They see how we use automation and they think, oh, interesting. I could probably be doing something very similar to that. The other end of it is the way we use, be it customer stories or testimonials, we can put them at the heart and center of what we're doing to highlight their businesses. the way we build out templates or recipes for emails or automations definitely supports them that they can grab those and use those off the shelf, as well as just different free tools we might create. So things like subject line generators, et cetera. Like a lot of the things we use to drive some demand in the business, done well, it becomes directly applicable to our customers as well, right? By which they can use those and be better marketers themselves. So I think a lot about some of the thought leadership ends of that too. So yeah, done well, it's I can cover both of those, right?
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I was curious about that. So let's talk about marketing, the marketing stir, right? So for ActiveCampaign, what's working for you marketing strategy wise? What channels are you finding most effective? What are some new trends or channels that you're dipping your toe in that are working?
Let's separate those two for a second. So if we do what is working and just honestly, historically, what's worked really well for us, so much of that sits around organic in that, we have just a large repertoire of content that has driven folks into us. So healthy, just organic search rankings and traffic coming in that turns into, inbound business for us. Outside of that, I mentioned at the top of the show, we have, customers in 170 different countries. We have over 185,000 paying customers. So our customers become such key advocates of ours that the word of mouth is actually really strong for the business, as is some of our just broader referral partners. So be it the affiliates we have, as well as potential resale partners. So those historically have worked really well, and to this day still work really, really well. Areas of what's more emerging or areas we're digging deeper into and playing around with, there's a few different spots. One is around, honestly, just like influencers. Like that idea of referral partners has worked really well for us, but there's kind of a new edge or lens to referral partners. And we think that's probably closer to the influencer side or space where you have certain marketing coaches or, just, I hate to use the word influencer in the definition of influencer, but, folks actually recommending different products, tools, or strategies, like just building some relationships and getting close to them is actually working out decently well. And we're going further in a few areas of like our owned channels. So how do we actually use our own email marketing? How are we structuring some things where, given the landscape of artificial intelligence or algorithmic changes and just broader costs, what's more in our own control, where we represent how we show up, how we can engage or connect with customers and go a little deeper with them. So making sure we have true ownership of those and development within them. And then that could even include things like what we're doing now, just being on some podcasts, getting word out, just focusing on some of the brand awareness sides. So definitely experimenting and peppering around in some of those to see what might work or what might show some traction for us.
Are you returning to conferences? Are you attending? We were at one, and just today, funny enough, like our marketing department was asking us, what are some conferences you want to go to next year in 2024? And it was like, we haven't really been asked that a lot lately because, how the landscape has been the last few years. Well, are you going to conferences? What are some that you recommend? And not to put you on the spot, Shay, but that'll help me out too, because I'm looking this is a question that we were just posed today, matter of fact.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I think certainly things are, dare I say, returning to somewhat normal or normality. So as we're actually doing, you mentioned planning at the beginning of the show too, some 2024 planning, we're doing the same. And one of the exercises of that is, okay, let's get a list of all the different events we might want to go to, and be it a sponsor, a guest, a speaker, like let's lay it all out. And then let's start to look at some of the cost of that, which is the reality of, we think there's some wise things to do there, but you can't take any of those a la carte and just make a decision on one. You should look at the cohesive whole and see what are the best ones to go to, where do we want to place our bets, and push more of the chips in on that, right? To make sure we have the best investment there. I can give you a better answer as to what those events are in a week or two. I'll say historically for us, the events we have went to, probably more pre-pandemic. SaaStr has always been a good event for us. So if you're selling into B2B SaaS startups, it's always been a great place to be. And we've gotten lucky enough to do the lanyard sponsorship. So there's a point of pride of seeing everyone walk around with your logo on. Dreamforce has been decent for us in the sense that we have the #1 marketing automation integration into Salesforce. So in the App Exchange, we do very well. So we've been there more from a brand awareness perspective, perhaps more than lead gen, if you will. In the past, we've done all of the digital summit series, which has been an interesting event. So I don't know, we play around with a number of ones. It's kind of, that landscape is shaken up right now too. I think some events have completely pivoted during the pandemic. New ones have came about. So I don't know. I might have a different answer for you in a few weeks.
Yeah. No, I'd love to catch back up with you and talk about that, because that's what we're doing too, where we're figuring out, we've had Adweek is a big one, and then also Dreamforce is a even bigger one. And it's like, are you really meeting people? But like you said, maybe for brand awareness, we find the ramp up series, live ramp up, to be decent. We find some of the programmatic IO stuff just to be good, just for those people. And then, again, we're sharing some great knowledge there and some thought leadership with our listeners. It's just our own opinions on these events. There's and then I also find, Shay, a lot of like localized ones, right? There's like the little Battlefin one that's kind of coming in November. They were just on our podcast, and it was an interesting how they approach things. But yeah, that's, let's catch up in a couple of weeks, because it's my marketing department asking me, as you're the head of your marketing department, so you're putting this together. It just came up today. I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, we host a lot of our own events. Honestly, every single week we're hosting an event. So I can go into more detail on what those are, but those have definitely been successful for us in so many different ways too.
And are those on your website where people could find them and just, attend? Is it regional, I would imagine, some of the big cities?
Yeah, totally. And this is probably an advantage we have at ActiveCampaign, honestly, in that, you have those customers globally in a way where, we also have a volume, right? So that 185,000 where we can go into different markets to spend time with them. And there's a triple threat to these events, which is really exciting in that we go in, we invite our customers, we invite prospects, we invite partners, whomever might be, to come spend time with us. And through that, we notice that the cohorts that come that aren't customers convert at a much higher rate than basically any other touch or activity we can have on them, because for a couple of days, we're going to sit down and go through the platform and really show them how to use it. So their eyes just light up with possibility. For existing customers, it turns them into such loyal advocates that we see their expansion and retention as a cohort just balloon. And that they're like, oh, same scenario. There's a bunch of things I could be doing with ActiveCampaign that I didn't recognize or realize, and they go execute on those, which keeps them around much longer. And then running those events so well, all those folks, I guess I should say all, a good majority of those folks then go out and share their experience. They post it on LinkedIn, they put it on Twitter. The brand awareness carry from those works so well for us. To a degree, I think we'll do probably close to 100 events this year, just in market and regionally throughout. So I think by the time this comes out, I think it'll probably be November-ish. And in November, we'll do Denver, we'll do Chicago, Jacksonville, Houston, Singapore, London. I think we're in Hong Kong, Miami, Minneapolis. So it's honestly, every week there's something happening, which is incredible.
That's amazing. Is that right on your website there? Is it activecampaign.com?
You go to activecampaign.com. There's an events page. That event series very specifically we call study halls. So you go to activecampaign.com/study halls. You'll also see all of those listed out.
That's awesome. So let's get into some of the customers. 185,000. That's amazing. Are there certain types of customers that work really well for ActiveCampaign? Is it kind of industries, Shay? What's kind of the benchmark? You just work with everyone, or there's, tell me about it.
Yeah, I think you definitely don't get to 185,000 paying customers without some level of just agnostic in there, right? So at the heart and center, it's a platform. It's not, geared towards any one specific vertical. It's not one specific geography, right? It's in multiple different languages. So you see people from all over, be it verticals, locations, et cetera, use it. I'd say if I distill that down into the sweet spot though, right? Like you think of the ideal customer profile, it's, everything for anyone, like that's a really hard place to market, right? So for us, what we know is the sweet spot is it's a marketer. It's someone who's building out different marketing campaigns or executing on things. And very specifically, even in the business size, that's an established marketing program. So it's often not someone who is just starting, a marketing program. Like it's someone who's probably led one before. This isn't their first one. They maybe even used a tool before us, and they're looking for some level of maturity in what they're doing. Very specifically, that's often around automation. And to that, right? So marketer doing something of an established program, but automation is a key part of that process in their, and I'll say in their business, not just in their go-to-market motion, right? But they're using automation in a number of different ways across their actual business through not only conversion, but retention, expansion, et cetera. On a vertical side, we do well in a few key verticals, the likes of which include e-commerce, B2B SaaS for us. The course creators or kind of online education space has really done well for us, as well as the agencies, consultancies, or kind of that broader professional service side has also been really, really strong for us.
Let's get back to something you talked about, because longevity at any company means something. And you've been at ActiveCampaign involved in some type of role of marketing, like you said, design and now marketing. How has your last was like 6 or 7 years? How has it changed? I mean, look, through that time, you were before a pandemic, during, and now after a pandemic. How is, what have you seen in the beginning of when you started your job till now?
Ooh.
We're taking you back on a journey here, Shay. This is what we do here.
Yeah, it's I could write a book on this one. I don't know how much time you have for this question. It's a totally different organization, totally different job. The entire spec of it has changed. And let's put that in context. I started a little over 6 years ago. We are 10 times the size number of employees. We are well beyond 10 times the amount of revenue. It is fundamentally a different business. So it's hard to kind of put that into perspective or even talk through without going through some of each stage of that journey or what that looks like through the different hurdles. I would say the constant has been change in a very good way, honestly. It's interesting. You even talk to folks who've been here longer than I, and I'll ask them, what? I'm just curious, not digging, but why do you stay? What's kept you around so long? And the answer is almost always the same, and that folks feel like they have a different job every 6 to 12 months. And an interesting job in that about the time you think you have it figured out, it gets a little bit more challenging, right? The scale of it comes up a level, or there's a new opportunity presented that is going to require a little bit different thought process or emotion. And it's one where the challenge isn't so far ahead of you, it's unbearable and you're not actually sure how to tackle it, but it's moving at a pace too where nothing becomes mundane, right? Like you stay in that constant state of flow. And I would say that has been true, right? We went through several layers of maturity throughout our growth, but one by which staged very well.
That makes sense. And I also think, because you're working with so many different customers and their own marketing campaigns are so unique, that's gotta, no matter who's on the front line of those campaigns there, it's gotta just be something different all the time.
The entire landscape of marketing has changed so wild in the last 6 years, right? So even just in terms of how we market our own business, how our customers market their businesses, it is so wildly different. And that, built into the change of not only the change of growth in a business and organization, just fun challenges, right? To step through.
But something you said too kind of resonates with me here at Stirista is that you said once people go to these conferences, these events that you hold and meet ActiveCampaign and meet current customers and hear, and they're telling other people, that's kind of like at Stirista, we've certainly grown during my 4 years here. I was employee 41. We're at 150 now. Again, during a pandemic, during mild recession, and it's people who know us. It's people who get to know us, and they just tell people about it. So same thing. At the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned I'm very familiar with ActiveCampaign, being in this industry, parallel in a lot of ways. What would you say separates yourself from some of those other companies who are doing marketing automation?
Yeah, I love this question because you think about MarTech or marketing technology in that space we operate, right? There are thousands of companies, no shortage of competitors, right? So what is it that truly differentiates ActiveCampaign? And I can give you 5 key ways, quite honestly. One is we have the automation first mentality. So while we'll build out different channels of email, CRM, landing pages, forms, SMS, etc., we're doing that with the thought of how do you bring automation into that? How do you use automations to still deliver a very personal user or customer experience? Like everything we do is oriented around automation. That is the heart and soul of the business. And I think other folks start in a channel and then start to think about, well, how might we build some automation into it? We come from the complete opposite mindset. So automation first mentality. Second piece of that is a personal investment in your success. And in areas where folks might look at customer support or success as cost centers, for us, it's opportunity. We know that the way we grow our business is by you growing yours. So things like free onboarding, free migrations, the ability to call someone or have a contact with any human at ActiveCampaign, irregardless of what you pay us, is open, right? Like we want to spend time with you, your business, and truly invest in you, knowing that your growth leads to ours, quite honestly. The third piece would be, and this gets to my design roots, which I really enjoy, but we want a platform that has a great layer of sophistication, allows you to go do a bunch with it, but is not difficult to use. And the way we frame that up is we want something that is simple, not simplistic, right? And that simple, easy to use, very intuitive, it is not simplistic. We're not taking the features and distilling them down to the most simplest core so that anyone can use them. We still want to give you the depth of capabilities you need to go build the automations that are unique to your business and give you all the strengths you want. We just want it to be easy to do. So we spend a lot of time on that end. The fourth one would be just the value you get from ActiveCampaign. And we frame that in, you could start a trial today and be automating something in the next 5 minutes. Like sincerely, the time to value, we're talking in minutes, not weeks, not months, not quarters, right? Like you get that value today. And to that, we talk about that automation happening throughout your entire customer lifecycle. So it's not just value today, it's value tomorrow. And then every single day you got that automation running, right? Like you will continually see value coming from ActiveCampaign. And I'll put the last piece on it. And I shared this earlier, but it's, the most positively reviewed marketing automation platform in the world. And those are facts. That is our customers in G2, Trustpilot, et cetera, talking about us. G2 alone, we got over 10,000 positive reviews, right? Folks talking about ActiveCampaign and the power it brings to their business. So something we take a lot of pride in that didn't come easy. So just the power of our customer base is incredible.
Yeah, no, and thanks for breaking that down. And you should be proud because customers, that's what matters, right? The people who are using it and what they say about it, that's the best marketing in itself. Someone who uses it and tells someone else about it. It's so old fashioned, right? But now we just have the tools and the capabilities of doing that at such a larger scale. So kudos to you. Let's talk about AI. Big topic, right? Everyone's talking about it. Have you embraced it there at ActiveCampaign? And is it embedded into the platform? Are you using it for marketing purposes? How are you using it today?
Ooh, we could tackle that question both ways. So how are we using it just as our team internally, our own marketing, and then even in the product, quite honestly. And I'll start with the team. There's kind of 3 different ways I'd say we're putting it to use. And one is, I think, what everyone has heard and seen, and that is just content generation, right? In that we're doing things that are not, it's not writing our blog posts. It's not doing like the content marketing for us, but it's doing things like, hey, write a chatbot script for us, or write some social media post, or work on some ad copy or creative ideas. Write a job post in some respect, right? Like go use it to help bring out some content, but in ways that through our content marketing, we still want to have an opinion. We still want to do something that's probably more net positive and creating just more insights for folks. So it's the content generation side, but not just a bulk order, go put content out there, if that makes sense. The other side is researching. So it's, hey, go do competitive or comparison research for us, or help us go find some influencers. Actually, thinking about it, even that events question is a great question for generative AI to say, hey, what are the best industry events for e-commerce or B2B SaaS companies, things like that. Like, take those key verticals. I bet you someone on the team is doing that right now. Come up with interview questions, things like that, right? Like, so just the research side. The key piece that's been really interesting just in our own work, though, has been the ability to glean insights from generative AI. So to say, hey, take this large data set and tell me what's working here. So we'll put in customer, just like direct attribution. So when a customer signs up and they tell us how they found us, we'll just pipe that data into AI and say, hey, give us the most common threads of how someone found us. And it might be through influencers. I'm like, cool. Give me the top 10 influencers and who they recommended or referred, and what's the ACV of all those accounts, et cetera. So using it to just pull out insights in our marketing of what's working, what's not, and then using that to fundamentally change some of our strategies. So insights has been a key piece of where we're using it, I'd say, more internally.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, that's how myself, I could speak for it. That's how I'm using it, kind of for research, for just certain types of content. I'm finding it it's very just an additional step that allows me to utilize. It just helps me out. It's just there to just make my job just a little quicker, work a little smarter. So yeah, I love hearing that. So Shay, that's all the work questions. Now let's get to some of the personal questions here. Some of the fun questions, if you will, for some of the audience there. Our most famous question that people love, and they told me about it at this conference, our LinkedIn question. You're a CMO at a big company. LinkedIn, you're probably getting messages all the time on LinkedIn. What's a message that resonates with you, and what are a few that you just hate?
If you send a connection request, you got to put a comment in there. Especially if I don't know you, right? Like Vincent, I think we're connected on LinkedIn, but if we're not, you sent me a request there today, I'd be like, yep, totally makes sense. You don't no comment necessary. Out of the blue, you send me one, why? What's my mind just goes to, you're going to try and sell me something, and I don't want that. If you're going to try and sell me something, kudos, I get it, respect. Prove to me you're not AI or you're not copying and pasting something, right? So a lot of times someone would be like, hey, heard you on this podcast. That was great. I'm so-and-so from this business. You did the surface level of research, and that is not enough. It needs to be, hey, I heard you on this podcast talking about the Bears. I feel you. Justin Fields went down. But man, what an interesting opportunity for the young quarterback. I hope he does well. Then I'm like, you listened? You went a little deeper. You've warranted my attention. Let me read the rest of your message, right? Let's see where this is going to go. So yeah, prove to me you're not AI, or I'm not in a simulation of copying and paste there, if you will. The bad ones, you call me Shane or Sean or Siri, or you just you spell my name wrong, which happens so often. That is almost immediately I need a little more attention to what you're doing in that respect.
Mm-hmm. I like the prove to me you're not AI, because I remember getting a request from someone I was the first connection with, and they knew me already. I was I knew this person, and they were like, we should meet up. And I'm like, I will be at this conference. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you know me though. We met before, it was it was one of those things. And yeah, if you think they get Shay wrong, imagine Pietrafesa. So it's all the time. It's just just don't even bother. Just lead with Vincent. And that's a lot of things. A lot of people will try to get their clients on this podcast, right? But I'm like, first of all, just tell me you listen to it. Tell me you like it. Lie to me even. It's hi, I think so-and-so would be, can you acknowledge that you like the podcast? Say something about it, And we just dismiss that right away. So Shay, let's get to, you said you're originally from Ohio area, and what brought you to the Chicago area? What do you like to do on the weekends? What are some of your hobbies?
I'm a pretty simple person. Outside of work, which I generally like what I do. So it's I'm always reading or studying or mentoring others like in the space, and that's selfish in so many ways too. If I'm honest with you, Vincent, like I just learn so much about others, people's businesses and what's happening. Like it's all full circle and helps. But outside that, I love to cycle. That's like my form of exercising. So getting out on the bike, it's predominantly road biking, but I also love mountain biking as well. We're just to be outside, and a lot of times I listen to podcasts out there. So it's a good way to get outside. In Chicago, we have a beautiful lakefront trail that you can just for miles on end can ride along. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Just get outside and be on a bike.
That's cool. Yeah. And, hopefully, with Chicago, you're kind of limited, right? You get about 7 months out of the year or 6 months. What do you get?
If we're lucky.
Yeah. But no, I love Chicago. It is like truly one of my, probably my second favorite city behind New York City, of course, where I live and love. So that's great. So Shay, just before we leave, anything you want to just leave our listeners with, a closing thought, stuff to think about, something you're reading, anything you want?
This has been top of mind for me. I saw this post. I talk about Chicago. Another fellow Chicagoan, Jason Fried, had a post on. Do you call it Twitter? Do you call it X these days? I
still call it Twitter, but yeah, it gets the whole debate.
I think you can say either right now. It's in that middle ground. He had a post that was really interesting where essentially to the degree of a lot of times he'll get asked for advice about a team dynamic where someone's against them or they're against someone or management this or person team that. And basically like, how do you handle those types of situations? And what he said struck me, and it's simple, but it's so true in that you just take those unfortunate conditions with optimism, positivity. You got to have good faith. You have to always assume that level of positive intent. And that just assume things can work, that it will be okay. Quite honestly, and if you don't the spiral there just gets a little too deep, too far out of control. So just do whatever you're doing. Just recognize that everyone generally has the same goal, and you should cheer for everyone on the team, everyone you work with, that you work for, around, and that if you don't do that. It that almost becomes you manifest your own reality, right? So to be better, you have to make it better. So don't be afraid. And I think the way he phrased it was bend positive. Don't be afraid of that. So yeah, I think it's a good note to leave on.
Definitely a great note to leave on. That's thank you so much, Shay, for joining us. That's Shay Howe. Also, check him out, ActiveCampaign.com, Chief Marketing Officer there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shay. I'm Vincent. AJ is doing some great planning for Stirista here. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast from Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.